So what I'm getting is there has to be an underlying, cause. Maybe something yenye imekuwa build up until it can result to suicide.
Definitely.
Do you think there are people when you wanasikianga to pressure at once and you want to end it now?
It actually depends with the amount of pressure that's actually affecting a particular individual. So there are levels of pressure that can actually push somebody to want to commit suicide at that point. And most of the times
suicide is death caused by injuring oneself with an intent to die. Attempted suicide is injuring yourself with an intent to die, but you do not succeed. In 2019, a study was done, and over 700,000 people died due to suicide. And double that number, attempted suicide. And actually, suicide is the 4th cause of death worldwide. Today at Minding Your Mind, we shall be addressing this here with our therapist, Joy Eve, and we want to get to the deeper roots, the causes, the effects that it has on people who have attempted suicide and failed, and also the cause of people who have been left by people who have died by suicide. My name is Kate Roiro. I'll be your host today. Welcome, Joy Eve. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello everyone, my name is Joy Eve and I'm a therapist with B&M Safe Zone, and I'm glad to be here.
Wow, thank you so much, Joy Eve.
Thank you.
I don't know whether you're feeling this topic kama venye mimi naisikia.
Yeah.
I think watu wengi sana wamekuwa na suicidal thoughts, wengine tumeona wakikufa by suicide, and we want to know where, the source of these thoughts, like why do people commit suicide? So why do you think people commit suicide?
All right, so suicide is it's a cause effect. We say it's a result, it's a behavior, mostly from a sequence of a mental health sequence. So majorly, I think first of all people need to understand what's the sequence of behaving a particular way. So most of the times you have to believe in something. First of all, I think there are causes that maybe may cause somebody to feel or believe a particular thing. And then when they believe it, they will feel it. They will think it, and then they will feel it. And then from the feelings, then they will behave from it. So suicide is really from a sequence of activities that happen externally, then going into internal, then externally again.
So what I'm getting is there has to be an underlying, cause. Maybe something yenye imekuwa build up until it can result to suicide.
Definitely.
Do you think there are people when you wanasikianga to pressure at once and you want to end it now?
It actually depends with the amount of pressure that's actually affecting a particular individual. So there are levels of pressure that can actually push somebody to want to commit suicide at that point. And most of the times, if they are stopped and maybe they experience maybe encouragement, most of the time they even start wondering why they wanted to commit suicide. So it really depends with the levels of pressure or what actually happened. Like one thing could be maybe a parent can actually lose a child, and something that can be a blow that can actually cause the parent to want to commit sudden.
Someone who has never even thought of committing suicide.
And sometimes it's just an impulse that comes in, but most of the times it's not that they really mean to, but it's because of the magnitude of what they just lost, and they just feel like there's that sense of hopelessness. So what I'm getting also is that suicide is, when you're contemplating suicide, you don't want to end your life. You want to end the situation. You just want to end how it makes you feel. Because most of the time, it's not the situation, but how it's making that person think, feel, and believe. And they're like, it's like there's nothing as horrible than being in this situation in this world right now. That's why I might as well just let go.
Okay. And there are people who believe that suicide is genetic. Do you think there is some truth to that?
I don't think actually suicide is genetic. I think maybe the causes, or the responses, or let me say the chemical responses of an individual can be genetic, depending on how, depending on so many things. But suicide, the behavior is not genetic, So somebody shouldn't say that, because my parents killed themselves, now I'm going to have to kill myself later. No, that's not true. But then there's that aspect where maybe in your family there's a specific pattern of actually dealing with a situation that might, cause somebody to commit suicide. Maybe your parent handles a situation a particular way to the point that, it causes a magnitude to commit suicide. So now like you find yourself handling things the same way, and then you commit suicide. So it's not, that behavior is not genetic, but maybe the ways of, handling a situation. Yeah.
And do you know, actually, suicide can occur at, like the suicidal thoughts, it can occur at any age.
Yeah.
Because I saw that even children from 10 years contemplate suicide. And actually the highest number of people who commit suicide are children between 10 years to 18 years, and then from 20 to 35.
Oh goodness, yeah.
They are more likely to commit suicide than older people.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Okay, I think one of the things that happens with children is majorly the environment that they're exposed to. Not all children actually have such an environment. So when especially now there's a lot of social media and everything, there's a lot of pressure that's coming out of seeing other people's lives, and actually that sense of worthlessness. Because most of the times people who commit suicide is because they have that sense of worthlessness. You feel like somebody else's life is actually better. And that's why you see those times when social media was not there, where people were not necessarily comparing lives, suicide was really, it was not as rampant as now.
Yeah. So
social media has come in such a way. So many young people have phones, have Instagram, and so they're following other people's lives and feeling, I feel dissatisfied with my life. And so that's when you can actually find, that sense of feeling like, maybe my life is not worth it. And I need maybe, maybe it's not, I shouldn't even be in this world. Maybe they are the ones who should be in this world, and I shouldn't be the one
here. The feeling that the world will be a much better place
without me. Nobody would even notice if I'm there or not, because there's that sense of lack of value, and but you can actually notice the people who are actually, the children or the young people who are experiencing that are the people who are exposed to social media.
It's true.
But the children in Ushago who do not have phones, most of the times there's it's very rare for you to actually see such a thing.
Because actually there was a study done in the US, and most teenagers committed suicide more in this era than when social media was, because of comparing yourself. You feel like you haven't achieved much, like that life on social media.
I remember there's a clip I saw of a young man who was in his own room, like a bed sitter, and he was sitting on a corner, and then all of a sudden he received a phone call, like he was checking his bills are unpaid, and then all of a sudden like his mother texted him, today we've slept hungry, and then all of a sudden the girlfriend texted him, I need money to do this, and all of a sudden, and he's saying the things he needs to pay, and then he just collapses in a sense of, I don't know, like he was so frustrated and all, and he just wanted to just commit suicide, and all of a sudden he just saw a rope and like, I'm ending this. Right now there's a lot of pressure, and one of the things that's so important is, what are you exposing yourself to, and what are you basing your life on? Are you so focused on other people's lives, or are you focused on your own path? And I think that's one thing that people need to be very, very cautious of, knowing, taking care of yourself and learning to be on your lane and not comparing yourself to other people. Your value doesn't change because of your state, And
do you know a true story? There's a hotel that was trending. It facilitates suicide.
Oh, goodness.
So when you check in that hotel, you'll find that there's a gun, there's poison if you want to die by poison, and then just next to the bathtub there's open wires. You can electrocute yourself.
Oh, no.
If it's your preferred method. It was trending, like
no.
people check into that hotel to commit suicide.
Oh my goodness. I don't know, did the government maybe talk?
I mean, because I think aiding suicide is a crime.
Yeah, it is. You know, like you should be encouraging people to live their lives and fulfill their purposes in life and not necessarily ending their lives. They're supposed to be spaces of encouragement and giving people hope.
Yeah.
You know, because there is hope. You know, as long as the sun is always shining, there is always hope. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. So let's just mention the common causes of suicide or suicidal thoughts, like depression.
You know, I think there are different ways that can actually cause somebody to get to a place where they want to commit suicide. It could be that one person is, you know, under pressure because of the economy. Economy can actually, if the economy of your country is really bad, or you're in a place where the economy is really affecting you negatively, you can't feed your family, like it's really hard on your end, you can pay your bills, it can really cause you to actually feel like ending it. So there's also that aspect of being in a space where you are in a very toxic environment, where maybe you have a narcissistic boss, narcissistic parent, and especially I can say that for young people as well. You have parents who are very controlling, they don't understand you. Sometimes you may find young people just saying, you know what, I feel like I want to die or something, you know. There's that aspect of bullying. We've had so many spaces where, you know, people have been bullied, or young people have been bullied. Even at work, you've been bullied, and you just feel what happens is that those causes make you believe a particular way. They make you feel you lack worth, you lack value. There's that sense of hopelessness. So as long as you reach like you get to that place where you are hopeless, you're worthless and everything, it can actually trigger negative thoughts. There's bullying, there's death of maybe someone very close to you. You know, we've had like group therapy for grieving, you know, where we met, you know, sometimes we have people who come together and they say, I lost a friend and I feel like right now they're not in a good place and they feel they would have gone with them, and maybe they even like regret, they wish they maybe give them a chance to date them or something. There's so many things. I mean, there's that sense of shame, guilt that can actually cause somebody to actually want to commit suicide. Anything that causes you to get to that place where you feel hopeless, you feel worthless, you feel you lack value, you feel all these things that can actually cause you to have actually contemplate, you know, suicide. When you think it, you feel it, you might actually behave it.
Yeah. And I think most people who attempt suicide die by suicide. Is it true?
All right. The suicide fails. The suicide fails. There are people who like try to commit suicide and then they put a rope and then they come back, like or maybe they try to shoot themselves and it doesn't work out. But the others who actually do succeed to actually do it. The others who try to, but then in the middle they just think about it and they're like, you know what, no, I don't want to do that.
And I think here we have failed to mention that relationships also.
I think that aspect of toxic, you know, that toxic environment, a relationship can be a toxic environment, because you see, when you have somebody, they're like an environment to you. So you need to be able to choose, what kind of environment do I actually want for myself. So if your relationship is toxic, then there's a high likelihood, I think, is that point of can make you feel a lack of value, worthlessness. When you feel you're worthless, then you will think that way, and then it will lead you there. We've had even cases, I think recently we talked about the lady who actually committed suicide in front of her husband. And I think maybe there's that aspect where that relationship might have made her feel she doesn't have value, she's not worth it. And I think sometimes even like neglecting yourself, self-care. So you're so focused on somebody to the point that you are not taking care of yourself. You're so dependent on this person that you even forget that you are your own responsibility when it comes to your mental health, when it comes to your definition. Sometimes just because somebody doesn't value you, that doesn't mean that you're not valuable. Just because that somebody doesn't, make you feel worthy, that doesn't mean that you're not worth it.
Or actually maybe a person is struggling with identity, so they hang on to the person who makes them feel valued. So when that person leaves them,
now they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. But you can't live like that.
Yeah, because I actually wonder. There's a lady who called. She called through our website. She wanted to commit suicide, and ile kitu kubwa sana, it's because alikuwa naona she can't live without the jamaa. So ni mtu anakuanga ameattach too much value on a person, ama amejipeana sana, ndivyo ana feel like when that person departs, it's like you can't live without that person.
So what happens is that whenever you make somebody your all in all, now you see it's not bad to the point, it's that aspect of actually losing yourself in a relationship. In a relationship is not something to cause you to lose yourself. It's a space where you actually, enjoy the other person, but do not lose yourself. In that space, you still need to take care of yourself.
And flourish.
Yeah, you still need to know that your identity is not something that should change because of the other person. You are who you are. Just like that, not because of your performance or anything, and that shouldn't change because of a state. A relationship can be a state, but you need to be able to be very conscious about your standing. And if you feel like that other person is not giving you that, which can happen because nobody is perfect, and that's why you need to create that space where you are supplying yourself that aspect of taking care of yourself as well,
Yeah, and I would like you to tell us who is at risk of suicidal thoughts or attempting suicide.
All right, first of all, so I think a person who's gone through a trauma, a person in a very toxic environment, you can know when there's a toxic environment because of how you feel. If you feel every time you're in a particular place, you're triggered, you're sad, you're depressed, and a person who's being abused is that aspect of domestic abuse. So somebody beats you up, abuses you emotionally, you might feel that aspect, I don't know how is that making you feel, because I can see that you're cringing your face.
Well, I wouldn't want, of course, to be in that situation. But like no one is on a pedestal, as you like to say. Those things happen to those people. Anyone can be a victim. You never know.
That's so
but
true.
I think having a firm identity that is not defined by things, by people, is very important.
That's so true. That's so true. And also that aspect of a person who's constantly comparing themselves with other people. You're constantly on social media and constantly following people, and okay, it's not bad, but then that can't be your source of validation and everything. You really need to create an environment where you're constantly, blessing yourself, gracing yourself and everything, and knowing that we are not all together. We are not all perfect, and the other person does not always have everything all together, and it's okay. It's okay. You're who you are. You're unique, and you have a special purpose. It might not be at yenye everyone is seeing, but it's still a life worth living.
And why is it hard for people to talk about suicide? Because you'll find even like when a person dies via suicide, people don't talk about it. Some families like wanazikana usiku saa zile, because it's a shameful thing in that community, wanazikwa usiku. Why don't people talk about suicide?
I think it's that aspect of the stigma of mental health. Nobody wants to know that this person was struggling with depression. Nobody wants to talk about somebody was struggling with anxiety. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that we maybe saw it, but we didn't actually address it. I think it's a stigma that comes in with mental health and addressing mental health, and especially in this space, there's kind of a shame that comes with, a person going through a particular feeling or emotion, because depression sometimes comes as a feeling, anxiety comes as a feeling, all these things. Nobody wants to actually talk. These things actually do exist, and people are actually sometimes really hard on themselves, you know, and nobody wants, you know, like the parents don't want to be seen that we are the ones who maybe he addressed it, maybe we are the ones who might actually have caused it. You know, there's a lot of stigma that comes with what could actually have caused this person to commit suicide. And I mean, like, it's a taboo. You're not supposed to be killing yourself. And that's why I think last time when we spoke about the phone call, I told you sometimes whenever you have somebody who's actually wanting to commit suicide, can you validate their emotions? Because honestly, anyone can find themselves there. Anyone can feel, wow, it's the end and I don't feel like I can handle this, and validate, you know what, that issue that caused you to get here is really, really valid. You know, if it was anyone, honestly, they would have been here. And there's no shame to feel how you feel, you know. There's no shame. And I think the time you actually address and validate those emotions, all of a sudden you start, you know, they start feeling that sense of hope. Because what is the underlying issue? They feel that maybe they don't, nobody understands them and nobody cares, so I might as well not be here. You know, maybe people will understand how I was feeling when I'm gone. You know,
Tragic. So how would you tell if a friend or a family member is heading that road?
You know, most of the times, you notice, most of the time they normally talk. They normally say, you know, sometimes you may notice they say, you know, I want to die. You know, when they start speaking it or voicing it, something they're already thinking about it. You know, most of the time they communicate even on Instagram. They talk about it. They text. You know, I have one person who actually texted to a couple of our friends. And then we knew where this person is actually... and he was actually planning to commit suicide, and we had to come and rally around him and, you know, encourage him, you know. Most of the time they do communicate, or sometimes they may have some behaviors like withdrawing, locking themselves inside, you know.
I lock myself inside my house. So.
Like it depends. If somebody has been very outgoing and all of a sudden they're constantly withdrawing, you know, they're no longer talking, you know, you might actually need to check up on them. You know, most of the times it's those nitty-gritty things. But I think sometimes not everyone would actually know what's actually happening. And it's good to talk about it. And let's kill that stigma.
There is change in behavior, of course, that you will notice. And it's very important to note that if you notice change in behavior, like isolation, withdrawal from a person who was previously outgoing, it helps to ask them if they are contemplating suicide.
That's true.
Sometimes it helps to ask, because it shows that there is someone who cares, there is someone who is noticing. So actually, if utakuwa there hope for that moment yenye utawa prevent for that moment to commit suicide, just by asking, are you thinking about committing suicide?
That's so true.
Will go a long way.
That's very important to actually like address it and, you know, help them feel like you understand what's actually. Never ever condemn somebody for feeling that way. Never. I think it's very important to extend that aspect of grace. See yourself in that other person's shoes. Honestly, to be frank, if it was maybe you might have even thought of doing that, you know. Or maybe this person does that, you know, just doesn't have the capacity to handle what's happening in their lives. So be very gracious to those people or anyone who's watching, you know, and then, you know, just help them through those emotions and help them realize the sun is still shining. This situation is not permanent, you know, and we're here to support you through this. We may not support you with everything you need, but you know what? You just hang on and we're here for you, you know,
Apart from support, how else do you think we can prevent suicide?
All right, the other ways is actually giving a lot of psychoeducation about it and providing spaces, safe places to actually talk about these things, you know. And I think bringing a lot of awareness about mental health, that it's real. As, you know, as physical health, mental health is also real. You know, people do feel the emotions. You can feel like your emotions are sick. You can be emotionally sick. You can be you know, in your mind, thoughtfully seek. You can be in your belief seek, you know, and even like if you have all those things that are sick, you can definitely, you know, have behaviors that are sick.
Yeah.
You know, and just like physical, whenever you're sick in your body, nobody condemns you. You know, people rally around you and they take you to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing that we should actually also address when it comes to mental health. When people notice that you're not okay, you're anxious, you're depressed, people should rally around you and help you, also take you to a therapist, you know, and let your emotions be brought back to check,
Yeah.
you know, to bring that space of hope, you know.
Yeah. Na mtu mwenye saizi like ako in that phase anasikia leo ni lazima nijimalize.
Yeah,
like how would you help such a person?
Yeah. And I think it's just that aspect of, you know, whoever is watching out there and you feel like you want to commit suicide, I want to let you know that whatever is happening, you know, it's we understand that it's really tough and hard, you know, and there's so many reasons why you might actually be feeling like you want to commit suicide and everything, but, you know, it's all valid. It's all valid, and we feel you, and, you know, but then there are other ways to actually, you know, address those things, you know, and there's places where you can actually talk about it, you know, and you don't need to beat yourself so much, you know, and I know if it was anybody else going through that situation, they would be in that situation, but then also there are other ways to actually overcome that situation other than, you know, committing suicide.
Yeah, especially in this season where there is a lot of despair because of the economic crisis. A lot of people are despair. I think I'll go through some myths concerning suicide.
Okay.
So there are myths zenye hizo vitu zenye hazija. Myths are vitu zenye
They're not facts.
They're not facts. Yes. So, myth number 1, you can't ask someone if they are suicidal. But the fact is, evidence shows asking someone if they are suicidal could protect them. Asking someone if they are having suicidal thoughts can give them permission to tell you how they feel and let them know they are not a burden. Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Myth number 2, you can only people. Myth number 2, people who talk about suicide aren't serious and won't go through it. As you've said, like before someone actually commits suicide, you'll hear them say.
You'll hear them say because they're already thinking about it, and that's normally the sequence. You will think about it, you will feel it, and the next minute you will do it. Sometimes even voicing your emotions is actually part of the process. You know.
Wow. So the fact is, people who die by suicide have often told someone that they do not feel life is worth living, or that they have no future. Some may have actually said they want to die. It's possible that someone might talk about suicide as a way of getting attention, in the sense of calling for help. It's important to always take someone seriously if they talk about feeling suicidal. Helping them get the support they need could save their lives. Yeah, that is so true.
That's so true. True.
So myth number 3, if a person is serious about killing themselves, then there's nothing you can do. What do you think about that?
No, there's something you can do. Yeah, I mean, like if you know somebody is about to commit suicide, you can give them hope because they're at a place of hopelessness. Sometimes it's good when somebody reminds you that the sun is always shining. You may not be where you need to be, but you know what, sometimes you may need to just take one step at a time. And stop feeling, because most of the times they may be feeling like, oh, I need to rush. No, where are you rushing to? Sometimes just remind them, you know what, some things need time, and it's okay to take time. Take one step at a time. That doesn't mean because you've not gotten there that it's all over. No. Sometimes I like even telling people, like, you already sometimes think you're already successful, so that you don't feel the pressure of trying to get there, but see yourself already there. So that now you can be at ease to just take one step at a time, you know.
So there is something you can do. If someone is serious about killing themselves,
Yeah.
there is something you can
There's something you can do.
Yeah, so myth number 4, you have to be mentally ill to think about suicide.
No. That's a myth. I think most of us have even like thought about it. Because I think some situations just make you feel There's some people who've actually thought of they don't want to live anymore, but not necessarily acted on it. Or maybe they're like, hey, maybe if I kill myself, I'll go to hell. So I might as well wait till I die. But then at this point, how I'm feeling, I feel like I don't want to be in this situation. It's too hard. It's too toxic.
So the fact about that is that 1 in 5 people who have thought about suicide at some point in their life, and not all people who die by suicide have mental problems at the time they die. However, many people who die by suicide have struggled with their mental health, typically to a serious degree. This may or may not be known before the person's death. So myth number 5. People who are suicidal want to die.
Not all the time. Most of the time, it's not that they want to die, it's because they just don't want that situation.
Yeah, they want to end.
They don't want to feel the way they are feeling or thinking. Because honestly, suicidal thoughts are tormenting. Oh my goodness, for whoever is going through this, I understand that those thoughts are tormenting you. And, every time waking up and realizing, oh my gosh, I'm in this situation again. How will I ever get out of this situation? They're tormenting. And I think they just want to get out of that situation. Either it's a physical or emotional or spiritual or whatever, they just don't want to be in that situation. It's not that they want to die, they just want a better life. And they're dying so that they think that that other side will be better. Yeah.
Or they will find peace.
Yeah.
So fact, the majority of people who feel suicidal do not actually want to die. As you have said, they just want the situation they are in or the way they are feeling to stop. This distinction may seem small, but it is very important. It's why talking through other options at the right time is so vital. So myth number 6, talking about suicide is a bad idea as it may give someone the idea to try.
Okay, right now we're talking about suicide. I think everybody's actually feeling like committing suicide right now. So I think it's how you talk about suicide. Right now we are talking from a space of hope. It's not necessary that you do commit suicide, but there are spaces where there are people who exhilarate, it's like they show as if suicide. There are spaces they say if you die you'll see Jesus, those toxic spaces. It's somebody is very happy because they are saying the other side will be better than this other side. But for us, we're not talking about, we're showing this side there is hope as well. You don't have to commit suicide. That situation is it can be solved, it can be dealt with.
Fact, as we wrap up, suicide can be a taboo topic. Often people who are feeling suicidal don't want to worry or burden anyone with how they feel, and so they don't discuss it. But by asking someone directly about suicide will give them permission to tell you how they feel. People who are struggling or have felt suicide will often say what a huge relief it was to be able to talk about what they were experiencing. Once someone starts talking, they've got a better chance of discovering options that aren't suicide. As you were saying, discovering hope.
That's so true. I feel like those myths actually demystify some of the myths that maybe people out there could be thinking about or be hearing about. And so
wow, so give us your parting shot as we wrap up the show. It was amazing.
It was. There's hope for, I think there's no what can we say? There's no shame in feeling how you're feeling.
There's no condemnation.
There's no condemnation. There's it's normal. Okay, is it normal? Yeah, it's actually normal. It's human nature to actually feel like letting go, this other side is horrible, but you know, I just want to tell everybody that you have a purpose, you have there's hope. As long as I normally tell people, look at the sun, it's shining. And you see, like, the sun is so nice. Sometimes when you wake up in the morning, it's so warm and everything. Sometimes in those moments when you're receiving all those things, it's that grace that comes in. Like, grace is good things, you know, like there's always constant supply of good things, and sometimes just focus on the things that are good. I know maybe you're in a situation that's really bad, but try as much as you can to look at the sun and see as the rays are shining. That's how sometimes they're good things, and start focusing on the good things that are happening. First of all, you're alive, meaning there is a chance that you may actually, you know, receive good things every day. You have health, you know. If you don't have health, then it means there's always a chance to, you know,
get better.
When you're alive. Yeah, as long as you're alive, there's hope. As long as the sun is shining, there's always good things around you, and focus on the good things. Even the flowers blooming around you, you know. Yeah, it doesn't have to always be money, economy. No.
Find a reason.
Find a reason, because there are very many. Yeah, and all those things, as you're focusing on those good things, most of the times that situation starts. Most of the times you'll find yourself being able to work it out. Pole pole too, you know, so don't give up. Don't give up,
Well, as our producer was telling us earlier, even your time in despair, keeping a positive mind is everything.
It's everything.
Finding a reason to be, you know, to live for tomorrow. Hata kama ni the only reason you have is that you can breathe. Find joy in that reason. And if you need any help, me and Joy Eve, we are here to help. You can contact us through the number below on the screen, and also follow our pages on Instagram and Facebook at M&M Foundation. And you can also visit our website at m&mfoundation.co.ke. You can book a session for therapy. You can contact someone to walk with you if you have any challenges in life, business, marital relationships. We are here to help. So thank you so much for joining in. Until next time, kwaheri.
Bye-bye.